Easter, Jesus, resurrection, etc., and what it means to you as a modern American. And what does it mean to your children is the issue. How many children, Jewish children, are taken to seders who cannot believe what they're listening to? The reason that we eat matzah is so we should remember that we were slaves in Egypt. And the child says, well, what is this nonsense? What child in that room, I said last night, thinks that's relevant to him or her? None, not one child. They don't believe it. How can a child in the world today think about slavery and the Jewish people in Egypt? They can't. It's irrelevant. It has no meaning to them. None whatsoever. And yet tradition and ritual goes on, and it'll be repeated through the end of time. Egypt and this. You say slavery to a child, he thinks the American African experience in slavery. That's what he thinks about. He doesn't think about the Jewish people in Egypt. He thinks about that. So he says, "What? I can't relate to that." Looks around the room, his mother and his father, and he can't say they were slaves in Egypt. He doesn't understand that. Doesn't mean anything. So what I explained last night to my friends, and told them to tell others the same thing, which is that the whole thing of a release from bondage, meaning what is a Seder? Well, you're supposed to remember you were in bondage and God freed us. Why? Because we're so wonderful. Everyone in the room is so wonderful going back thousands of years that God chose you personally, freed you. No one believes that. That's not what it means. It's a misinterpretation. What the Seder is and what bondage means is our own bondage, of human bondage. We are all in bondage with our own weaknesses, our own addictions, our own wants, our own lusts, etc. Those are the bondages. Those are our Egypts. Whatever the addiction may be. We are in the Egypt of our addiction, our weakness, our passions. And what the Seder represents is an opportunity to remember that we are all enslaved. We are all enslaved by ourselves. And we're supposed to free ourselves. We have an opportunity each year to renew ourselves in freedom by recognizing we are slaves. And the louder we scream, I am free, I am free, I am free, the more we can hear our own chains rattling. Right? So, the meaning of this is you have a chance every year to renew yourself, free yourself, break the bonds, cut the chains, and be a free man or a free woman. That is what I told my friends last night. And that's when the man came to me and said, it's the first time I've ever heard that. That is the meaning of the word slavery in Egypt. We are all our own slaves and our own slave masters. And we can break the chain. So that is the beginning of my discussion tonight on what happened last night. We're going to play a little bit more, and we're going to go into the Holy Week, and we're going to talk about the four kind of children according to the tradition. You know, you've heard it all, the wise child, the contrary child, the simple child, and the dumb child, and the kind of questions these children ask when they are told, right? When they are told what the issue is. The wise child says, what's the meaning of the laws, statutes, and customs in which the Lord our God has commanded us? That's the wise child. And then you explain to the child what it means, okay? That's the wise child. He actually asks questions of the older people. The contrary child says, what's the meaning of this ceremony to you, meaning to the other people? And by doing so, the contrary child cuts himself off from the group and cuts himself off from his traditions, and therefore, he goes out on the road of life alone. And we all understand that has its risks and rewards. That's the contrary child. Then, of course, there's the simple child in the pack amongst all who say, what's this about? He doesn't even understand it. Then there's a child who's so dumb he doesn't even know how to ask a question. Just a dummy. There are dumb children. I mean, what it teaches you is that there are children of different levels of awareness and intelligence. We're not all equal according to the universe of the idiots in the universal school system, where there's no genius and no dummy. Yeah, of course there's geniuses and dummies. Take a look around you, and you'll see the dummies where they work. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call